the idea that, really trying to live righteously, trying to eliminate sin from my life, understanding that to live that way is a better way. Mm-hmm. It creates safer relationships. If I don't, then it creates a more unsafe environment for me and the people around me. And that's what motivates me to go, I really want to deal with this stuff. Not that if I believe that my core God has made me in his image and he loves me and he understands me, I'm going to be way more likely to come to him with my problems, come to him with my sin, come to him as my solution, as my savior, than I am if I believe what he believes about me is ultimately that if we strip everything down, I'm gross. Yeah. I'm bad, right? It's interesting. So you and I started watching this documentary about, it was like a prison experiment where they're basically taking these guys, they're like, look, we believe the best about you. And so we're basically going to just unlock the doors inside of the prison. I think it's called
Unlocked.
Unlocked.
It's called Unlocked
on
yeah.
Netflix. So we started watching it to, see how it plays out. And it was really interesting kind of case study to kind of look at, because in a sense, what are they doing? They're giving them more freedom than they'd been having. They had been like on 23-hour lockdown and 1 hour out, right? So imagine that, 24 hours.
Yeah.
23 of them you're locked out. One you have some kind of freedom, right?
Yeah, and you had 15 minutes for each meal. Come out, eat your food, clean your plate, back in your cell, 15 minutes.
And now they're saying, they gave them this pretty big pep talk about, hey, if this goes bad, we'll shut it down ASAP. But we believe better about you than others have, so we're going to give you this shot. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the doors. We're just unlocking all the doors inside, right?
Yeah, that 24 hours a day, which is what was wild to me, because I thought surely they would at least lock their cell doors at night. Nope. Their cell doors are unlocked 24 hours a day. It all opens into a common area in the middle, so, and then like a basketball court. So they're not open to just free
they
roam
can't go outside.
Wherever.
They can't go into the community.
Yeah, but they can go, the basketball court area is outdoors.
Everything's open.
Like within walls. And then the inner court areas, they can, they were setting chairs outside their front doors like it was their front porch, and it was like an apartment complex instead of a prison block. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, so the first positive, the first advantage is, dude, we're more free than we've been. Mm-hmm. Like, we have now 24 hours of freedom, which right away you would think, well, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. But the entire experiment, the entire community is built on, if we have all this freedom, that means we can all come and go as we please. Can I trust you?
Right.
And one of the guys literally said, I'm afraid to go to sleep because someone might come stab me.
He said, I'm sleeping with two eyes open.
I'm sleeping with two eyes open. So now you've been given freedom, but your freedom only works if we don't abuse one another, lie to one another,
right,
attack one another, right? If we don't sin against each other.
Yeah, if we work together.
If we do sin against each other, this freedom is actually terrifying. Mm-hmm. So what you're seeing are people who, have been convicted of some kind of crime or sin.
They had everything in there from like burglary to assault. There are a couple guys in there for capital murder. Like, it was a wide range of things.
So I have in my history sin.
I have abused that freedom.
We'll
That's
call
why
it that,
I'm here.
right?
Right.
And now I have to decide, do I think based on my track record and my lifestyle that that's the way I want to live? Or now I'm being given an opportunity to live by, we'll call it the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The 10 Commandments, thou shalt not this, this, and this. Do I want to live by this law? Well, why would I do it? I want to do it because it's a better way to live. Right. I want to sleep at night, and I want you to be able to sleep at night because I'm not going to sin against you. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what I have to wrestle to the ground is, what do I believe about myself? And can I trust these people across from me, right? All that to get back to the point of, if what I believe about myself is what's true about me is I am the sum total of my mistakes, or the worst thing I ever did is the truest thing about me.
Yes.
And that's my ultimate default, versus believing, no, I'm made in the image of God. I've learned from my mistakes. That was what that did, that mistake I made, it created a life I don't want anything to do with. And now you have this collection of men in this prison that, you know, we're kind of watching them. Of course, nobody's preaching this sermon to them. I kind of like to be their chaplain, because I think, again, what we know is there's good in these guys. There's good in them.
Yeah.
And for a variety of reasons, some of which would make total sense if we could just see it all really clearly, why they did what they did along the way. Maybe it was out of fear. Maybe it was to try to protect themselves. Maybe it was, you know, complicated. But now here you are deciding, do I want to live in sin, or do I want to continue in the path that I've been in and just turn this new freedom I have into the same old thing? And I think if you could somehow come to that core belief, you know what? If they could all independently have a moment where God showed them what is true about them. You are made in my image. You are my masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do the good work I've created for you to do. And to rethink that, to have their mind renewed around that truth, it would help them deal with what they've done in their past and even rewire what they believe is possible about their future, about who they are and who each other are. And of course, again, if everyone independently makes a decision to live in that truth, that community is about to be beautiful.
Yes.
Again, we haven't watched that far to see what happens, and ultimately, but
no,
again,
but it's a fundamental truth,
and it's an example. It's a case study. But I think, again, a lot of us aren't in lockdown necessarily, right? But yet within our lives, to go, what do I believe about me? What do I believe God believes about me? Those are really critical things that would cause me to either turn to Him, go to Him with security and trust, or to live in this perpetual state of, it's only a matter of time before the real me comes out.
Yeah. I not to be too cute with it, but I think the reality is that a lot of people are in kind of an emotional lockdown situation, right? Where they feel they cannot ever be vulnerable with people. They can't have deep relationship with other people because it's not safe. It's as much as I wish that I could be out here having some freedom, it's safer for me to stay in here inside this cell, so to speak, closed off. And so I'm going to stay in here and protect myself because I don't know what kind of damage you're going to do to my heart.
So guess what? Every time you have a new opportunity, right? Even, again, these guys in prison, they're giving them a new opportunity to operate in freedom. And if I don't change my mindset around this, I will turn this new opportunity right into the exact same, just a new version of what I did out there.
That's exactly right.
So you keep taking new opportunities for freedom or new opportunities for change, and it just becomes another iteration of the old thing.
Yeah.
It's just one, again, that's where it gets down to having your mind renewed around the truth. But I mean, again, how many people, I'm watching these guys and I'm just rooting for them. I'm going, come on, guys, like there's more in you. There's better in you. Like you got to change how you think, because this is a beautiful opportunity. This really could change your whole life.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were locked up. And yes, it's inside the walls of this prison, and you have a certain sentence that probably isn't going to change. But in here, you're given an opportunity for freedom. Don't blow it because of the same mindset that got you to where you are. Now a new thing's been open to you.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's ultimately, as we go through life, sometimes our previous decisions have cost us something. It's brought some kind of death. It's brought some kind of something into our lives. But yet God opens up new opportunities for redemption, even opportunities for new beginnings or new things. And if I can't kind of work my way all the way down into a different way of thinking, I'll just turn this opportunity into a new version of that. And that's where you see, again, a lot of cycles, and patterns that people develop throughout their lives.
That's it. I mean, you touched on it, and I loved the way you said this when you were saying that people think that they get it in their head, the worst thing I've ever done is the truest thing about me. I think the other one I see sometimes is the worst thing that ever happened to me is maybe not the truest thing about me, but like it is what my whole life
It
boils
defines
down.
you.
Yes, it defines me, and it defines my whole existence, and everything in my life is going to be kind of like an iteration of that. And so those things can become those self-fulfilling prophecies. I think for a lot of those guys, obviously, I don't know a single one of them personally. So with that disclaimer, I think it would be fair to say if you went through that prison block and talked to each of those men about the situation that they grew up in or things that happened to them, I think that a lot of them would have big and little t trauma things that they would say. Well, and a couple of them did talk about it in some of the episodes that, like, you know, I was always really small. Like, I was smaller than my peers, and so I felt like I needed to stand up for myself. And that ended up leading to violent encounters, which became this ongoing thing in his life, right, where he felt like violence was his only answer to protect himself and to get where he wanted to go in life. But you would hear so many stories of things that people have gone through that have led them to believe things about themselves, that this is the trajectory my life will take. People from my town, you know, this is all we ever get. This is what we amount to. People buy all kinds of lies. This is the kind of people my family are, right? Like, this is our last name. This is what we're like. Or, you know, I came from a line of this, or I went to this school. I didn't have these opportunities, or this thing happened to me, and so, you know, I'm forever stained by this thing that happened to me. People will have these horrible traumatic things happen in their life, or even some of the smaller T things, and it will make them buy into that identity lie that they will then carry with themselves for the rest of their lives. And it will lead you, sorry I'm rambling, but it will lead you into this self-fulfilling prophecy where it will land you into the worst parts of yourself. Mm-hmm. And so, kind of circling back to what I was asking you at the beginning, when we talk about things like this, like how do we get on our healing journey, Greg and I don't have specific things to tell you, like do this and this and this, and then you'll be fine. You may need to actually see a therapist for certain things, depending on how intense this situation was for you and how all-encompassing. Or find a trusted friend, or go through a great program within a church or something like that. But you need to start bringing this stuff out into the daylight and examining it and looking at it and going, is this really true? Is this am I making this an identity thing? If it's a belief like that I'm less than, that I don't deserve this, that I am inherently bad, whatever, start unpacking some of those things at the deepest level and do that work, because that is where you actually start finding freedom, to where the trauma doesn't own you for the rest of your life, but you can take control of the narrative and start moving forward.
That's good.